All right, now that you've had a little experience working with masking as well as layers and some adjustment layers, what we're going to be doing is working on a personal collage poster. So the categories are going to be, you're going to need one image for where you were born, one image for where you want to visit, two for goals that you have in your life, two for sports, hobbies, or things you do to entertain yourself, two things that you really value, two things on your bucket list, and two random items. Here's an example. You can use things that represent the item. So it can be something that not a lot of other people would know or understand. And that's perfectly fine. This is a personal reflection on what you associate with those items. Here's an example from a student. Here's some other examples. Now, these are ones that are a little bit more abstract. I really like surrealistic things. So I showed you some of that before, but it's this idea of things that seem unnatural, yet all work well together. Now, one of the additional photos you will be including is a picture of yourself. However, I know some of you are very self-conscious and shy, which you shouldn't be. You're adorable. What you can do instead is you can use older photos. You could obscure parts of your face if you don't like having that front on. You can do kaleidoscopic things where you're duplicating one side versus another. Some other examples. So the idea is you're going to be placing these 13 images, including a picture of yourself. Now we're going to do this in the same order we've done before. You're going to be working first on the inspiration phase, the planning phase, and the building phase. In the inspiration phase, you're going to be creating a Pinterest board and you're going to be recording a screencast. So this is your chance to go out online and look for other collages. Use a key term digital collage or Photoshop digital collage, and you'll see a variety of different things. Then once you're in the image search, you can start pinning 10 to 15 collages to your Pinterest board. Then record a screencast. Record a screencast that's 3 to 5 minutes long and explain what it is that you like about the collage. And more importantly, let me know if there's something in particular that they did that you're not quite sure how to achieve in Photoshop. And then I can see if I can work with you one-on-one, or if enough people ask me for the same things, I'll record some demos for you to use. You're going to turn your screencast into Canvas. Then we're going to move on to the planning phase. So once you've found some inspiration and you've sent in your screencast, you're going to fill out the planning sheet that's a Google Doc, and then you're going to search for images. So in the planning phase, you're going to fill out the Google Doc that I've already created. In there, it has the listing of all of these items. Now, the thing with this, here's an example one. For each one of the items, I've given you 3 questions that you're going to be addressing. One is, what is the item or what is the thing? In this instance, the example category was goals. So what are your two major life goals? And this is where I really want you to dig deeper. So instead of just saying, I want to graduate, okay, that's fine. But why? Why is that important to you? You know, for me, my mom didn't graduate high school until later on because she had me too early, or actually really early. And so she didn't finish high school with her friends. So she had to go back and get her GED, but she did accomplish that. So since then, my parents have been really emphasizing how important education is. So this is something that I would put in there for myself. This doesn't mean it needs to be yours. But the idea is, as you write down, this is what I want to do, really think to yourself, why? You're not going to have to share all that with everybody. You will be sharing it with me, but I'll keep it private. But I want you to dig deeper so that this actually has some meaning. Then figure out what items can represent that and try to go beyond the obvious. Like for the education one, rather than thinking like a graduation cap or a diploma, think about deeper things you could potentially put in there that might be a little bit more abstract and unique to you. So you'll be doing that for all 13 of your items. Then go in and create a folder in your Google Drive called Collage, and then search for royalty-free images. Those are images that can freely be used. Now, you can use your own photos. You could photograph new things. And if you need to, we can go out and look at Creative Commons pictures that are available through Google. But before you do that, let's start with these free image sites. So first part was finding inspiration. Second part was doing planning. And now the third part is the actual building. What I recommend doing is open up each one of your pictures and mask them individually. Save it as a PSD file and then close it. Open up your next one, mask the entire object, and then save it as a PSD file and close it. Do that for each of the items, and then you'll create your main canvas. I have a video on the homepage that is showing you how to set up your document so that you don't lose points. It's an 8x10, 100 pixel per inch document. And then you'll start pulling the whole thing together and then going in and refining it and adding adjustment layers and clipping masks and layer styles and a lot of the other things you've been introduced to in Photoshop. For the building part, all it's required is some of the basics of tools and whether or not you're setting your document up correctly. So let's take a look at these. You are going to be naming your layers. I find that it's important to name the layers mainly so that you can be detail oriented. Now, I'm not always good myself, I'll be honest, about naming all of my layers because I'm working quickly. But with this, I want you to slow down a little bit and I want you to see that you can plan out your document and that you have all of the items. In addition to that, this will make it much easier for me to grade because I can skim down and see which things represent what category. Since you are digging deeper on the items, I may not recognize that palm tree means it's one of your goals. Might be I want to travel, and one of the places I want to travel is Fiji, and so that would be one of my goals in life is to be able to travel to tropical places, and that's why I chose a palm tree. But if you just had a palm tree there and the layer was just called layer 4, I wouldn't know what it was. As far as your prior knowledge, it's going to be things you've already worked with quite a bit, like understanding the workspace, knowing the difference between the toolbar, the control bar, the panels, the layers panel, where the menu bar is, and then also knowing how to manipulate layers, which ones will allow you to do clipping masks, how can you set up your selection tools to be able to create a mask, how do you add to a mask, how do you subtract from a mask, and then how do you make adjustment layers so they only affect one layer or they affect a group. As far as the objective grading, I'm going to be looking at, do you have your image size correct? Do you have your layers named correctly? And do you have the correct number of images? That's either you do or you don't. That's the objective part. And 20% of your grade will be based just on that. So that'll serve as a solid foundation if you get those right. Please make sure that you get those right. I have a video that shows you how to do that. I hate having points lost on this part right here. This part here is to help act as a buffer to increase your grade before we get into the more subjective part, meaning the more artsy part that isn't as easy to define as yes or no, right or wrong. The subjective grading is going to come in 4 parts. How smooth is your blending and how clean are your masks? So I'm going to be looking at each one of your masks. I want to know that your image quality is good. What I mean by that is that they're not too small and become pixelated. I want to see, and these are big giant air quotes, how is the natural effect and flow of your collage? Does it look like your items just got stuck on your canvas like a sticker? Or does it look like there was a purpose and a reason for having one thing growing out of another? And then the overall quality and technical skill required to create what you have. Did you go beyond the basics of just masking and stacking things on top of each other? Did you include groups? Did you mask a group folder? Did you add adjustment layers? Did you add multiple adjustment layers? Those are the types of things I'm going to be looking for in the overall quality and technical skill. Got to emphasize again, though, do not erase. You have to have things masked. So what that means is avoid downloading PNGs or images that already have a transparent background. How can I grade you based on your selection skills and your masking skills if it's already been done? So make sure that you do masks. As far as the due dates, this is what we're looking at for this first wave. Do you have any questions? If so, now is the time to ask, or you can send me messages through Canvas or send me screencasts through Canvas, and I will answer any questions you have.